So I started watching one of the most annoying back and forths on Twitter I've seen in a long time. I actually don't read a lot of these back and forths out there that much, and this is because I don't find them all that edifying. And here's a perfect case in point. This one, the only reason I'm involved is because I got tagged into it by Relief Belief. Relief Belief, you might know. In a way, I kind of actually like him, but it's a weird sort of fondness because he's one of the most ornery and annoying of the atheists. He's one of the really dogmatic, in-your-face atheists, and I kind of got a kick out of him in a sort of not contrarian way, but you kind of grow fond of the ornery dog type of thing. My ornery mother-in-law kind of got, every once in a while I develop softness for it. Same idea, same principle. But anyways, he's in a really, really unbelievably poor debate with Joe from Answers from Reason. Now, I talk about Answers from Reason crew a lot. Why? Because they're honest actors, and they are doing this the right way. And here's a perfect case in point. The basic gist of what they're discussing is Joe is saying, not all theists are irrational, something that shouldn't need to be said, and some of their beliefs, while I might not believe what they believe, they may have perfectly legitimate or at least quasi-legitimate justifications, and you should actually listen to and thoroughly consider some of the stuff that they have to say. There's really nothing to argue with. But Relief Belief finds a way to argue, and what he does in this particular interchange with me personally was so egregious that I had to address it. He goes, I was brought up as an example of a reasonable Christian. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I agree. Me, Digital Gnosis, and Thought Adventure Podcast. Now, Thought Adventure Podcast was a really good group to put in there. I would also say Theology Unleashed. Thought Adventure Podcasts are Muslims, and I have referred to them a bunch myself because they are about, they're pretty solid in their work with their philosophical arguments. You can think that they're not completely right. That's fine with me. But you should take them seriously and, really their work on the hard problem of consciousness and materialism is really good. I don't listen to them all the time, but I listen to them every once in a while. So and Nathan's justification for becoming a Christian again, I'm assuming he's a Christian again at this point. I wasn't really sure. But if you go look at the blog, it's perfectly reasonable. There's no such thing as a metaphysical assertion that just isn't so, which is what Relief Belief seems to imply that's all religious belief is. Saying this is there, that isn't there. So his case in point, so he goes, I can't believe you're calling Craig Reed reasonable. So if he digs up something I said, literally this is his counter-argument. He digs up something I said 4 years ago, completely out of context, where I said, I've seen demons with my own eyes, or something like that. Now I have no idea who I was talking to, and I have no idea why I said it. I assume I was just trying to, I was very new to Twitter at that time. I assume I was trying to stir up, trying to get in his face to get him to question or something like that. I have no idea what the strategy was. Why I said it. No, not a clue. But that's his, see, Craig Reed is crazy. Look, this is something he said that's crazy 4 years ago. So then I posted 2 videos from last week and the week before, eminently reasonable, about, most of you who have been listening to my videos know I've been dealing with idealism a lot of late. And then I did a video on the metaphysics of math. Now, there's almost nothing for him to dispute in the metaphysics of math. There's no unreasonable assertion that he would find wildly I can't believe somebody would believe that. Nothing. My worldview is literally identical to Sir Roger Penrose, the physicist. Literally identical. It's about, mathematical Platonism and how I think that actually constitutes some evidence. Some is the key word. The only thing Joe was saying is that there is some evidence for God and that some of these Christian thinkers and theological thinkers need to be listened to. That's the only thing he was trying to argue, a point that shouldn't even need to be argued. And Relief Without Belief's counterpoint was, no, look, Craig's crazy. He said a crazy thing 4 years ago. Look. Basically, it was counter-argument. Now, I posted 2 videos that he could have watched from this week and last week. Did he watch them? No, promise he didn't. Joe even asked him, did you watch the videos he posted? I can answer that. No. Of course not. Why? Because he doesn't care what's true. He doesn't care what's true at all. He only cares about asserting his intellectual superiority over Christians because he gets sort of some demented charge out of it. He used to say, I went and rechecked his his profile pic. You say the smartest guy in the room. I guess he took it down because too many people took issue with it and said, no, you ain't. No, you're not even close. Now, you didn't bother to even watch the 2 videos I posted. So you don't care what's true. You should listen to Joe and be quiet. As far as what I think about the demonic, I have other videos where I go into really good explanations that are actually more naturalistic, if anything, as to why, what is going on when people believe in things like spirits. Now, I would post that video for you, but you won't watch it. And I found that even when that type of atheist watches those videos, they don't listen to it. They don't process it. So just in brief, when people have beliefs that they practice collectively, an ideology, those beliefs often have an ontology to them, a life of their own. Now, I didn't say that means it's a conscious agent, like a demon. The first thing to think about, and Relief with Belief, this is right to you, even though you probably aren't listening at this point, you've got to ask yourself, if Christianity is so wildly irrational, why are there so many more theists than there are atheists? Plausibility is entailed by how easy it is for somebody to believe something. So the fact that there are so many more theists than there are atheists, even with a couple of big, really hard to believe things right smack dab in the middle of it, should give you some pause. And what should also give you some pause is that Muslims and myself have a lot of similar arguments. A lot of similar arguments. Why? Because the ontology of what we are saying is out there is somewhat similar and overlaps. Somewhat similar. Somewhat overlaps. So there are perfectly really good philosophical questions that are actually hard to answer, and I praise the Answers from Reason crew too much, but they're honest. They're asking honest questions and they're really trying to figure this stuff out. They're not just, most of the rest of these other guys are like Relief Belief. Their only agenda is, I'm so much smarter than Christians. I'm so much smarter than Christians. Christians are so dumb. And then, case in point, if I was so irrational, okay, you wouldn't have to go digging something I said 4 years ago. You could look at the videos I just posted to you and find 10 examples of irrational thought process in those videos. The fact that you can't should give you some pause. Maybe you're mistaken. You should shut your mouth and listen to Joe. Why? Because he's smarter than you. Okay, you're not the smartest guy in the room. You're not even the smartest guy on that particular thread. Him and his crew are smarter than you, I promise. Dave is pretty sharp. Philip Mueller is pretty sharp. They're smarter than you. Even the bearded heretic, got a little bit going on upstairs. Yeah, the purple guys have got, a couple of firing synapses here and there. Now, the point is, in brief, about demonism. When I used to be in recovery, okay, they encouraged you to think of your alcoholism as a disease, as a conscious agent. Does that literally mean that we thought it was a conscious agent? No, not necessarily. But it was really helpful to think of alcoholism in that way. So you'd be in the room and they'd say something like, my disease is outside doing push-ups right now. I'm in here trying to recover, and my disease is gathering strength against me. That's where people metaphorically refer to demons. He's got his demons, this thing that's part of you that's trying to actually literally defeat you. And that's what it literally feels like to people. Okay? So it's really helpful in some instances to think of an affliction or a psychological condition as something with some agency. Now, as I've said in the past, part of the reason why Christianity and religion in general is so popular is that agency detection is as common as grass. It's normal. It's a part of being a human being. Now, that doesn't mean that you're correct. That if you're an atheist, you think it's all your subconscious mind. It's fine with me. When you think when I go into prayer and I think I actually got an answer, I got some sort of direction, you think that that's my subconscious prodding me along. I'm perfectly fine with people thinking that. The only thing I've ever asserted along those lines is that you can teach yourself to amplify that agency detection kit. Now, all atheists would say, would speak of it only in naturalistic terms. It's fine. The only thing I'm saying is that when you learn to amplify that agency detection kit, it gets stronger. And you can cultivate it with prayer so that it feels more and more. It could be your subconscious mind. I would never say it isn't. But it feels more and more like something else, like a third party prodding you. Now, what's this got to do with demons? Same idea. When you have an affliction like alcoholism that you can't beat, it often feels like, to the person who carries that cross, a third party. It feels like some sort of conscious entity trying to defeat you. Now, that doesn't mean that it is, but it's often really helpful to think about something in those terms. That's why the Bible talks about spiritual warfare. It talks about, do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. There's a lot of just plain common sense scriptures that actually help you defeat your adversaries in life, because oftentimes you find that your adversaries are you, are coming directly from you. And it's really helpful for people to think of, that in terms of those are conscious entities. That doesn't mean that they are. Doesn't mean that I think they are. I'm agnostic on the topic. And I don't know what I was saying in that particular video, why I brought it up. I was probably trying to shock the guy. When I first got on Twitter, I thought it was like, I was trying to be, I thought I was going to be I didn't really realize how Twitter works. So I said a lot more things that I would never say now then, because I was trying to sound like I sounded in church. And I would never say that stuff in real life. So I was like, I don't know. I guess I was trying to be bolder. Not really sure what the strategy was. And then I realized that it wasn't helpful. But the fact that you have to go digging 4 years into my past as an example of how irrational I am should tell you I'm not really all that irrational, dude. Your position is actually really weak. And you even started quoting philosophers like Plantinga, and you did the same thing. Here's a thing that Plantinga believes that's really false. Ergo, everything he believes is false. That's idiotville logic, dude. That's such poor logic, you should just be quiet and listen to Joe. The only thing Joe is trying to tell you is just plain, normal, common sense. I don't believe everything that Craig Reed believes, but I find Craig's thought process somewhat trustworthy in some areas. Ergo, some of the things he says, maybe I should think about and listen to. That's it. That's the only thing he was trying to tell you. Ditto for Digital Gnosis. Ditto for Thought Adventure Podcast. You'd be well served by listening to Thought Adventure Podcast. Those guys are really grounded in philosophical arguments, and they're good at them. So you should be quiet. Joe is correct, as per the usual. Joe is right. All the thing he's trying to tell you is to listen to theists more and think more about the stuff they're offering. Because why? Because him and his crew are not in this to try and show that they're so much smarter than theists and they're so smart and oh my God. They're in this because they're actually honest actors who don't believe in God, and they're really interested in philosophy of religion. That's why they clash with the other types of atheists. Because the other types of atheists are basically dumbos who are trying to, their whole agenda is trying to prove how much smarter than theists they are. And, that seems to be most of your agenda, to be quite honest with you. And it's a childish and ludicrous agenda. Joe is smarter than you. He's wiser than you. His crew is more honest than you. Stand down. What do you want me to say? They're correct. Stand down and learn of them, because they are meek and humble of heart. Learn of them. They do it right. I've been telling you, the philosophical atheists, and these are the guys I'm usually talking about. There's others, the real atheology crew is pretty good. There are others out there who are trying to have honest conversations, but they're the only ones going to be standing at the end of the day, because the whole thread that you're involved with, the Godless Liz thing. I'll do another video about that. It's just the whole idea is that if we say we're so much smarter than Christians, even though we don't understand arguments and we don't care what Plantinga actually says and we don't read his books, then we're so much smarter than Christians. And if we get challenged on that, let's find something Craig Reed said 5 years ago. See, he's crazy. It's a terrible way to go through this whole thing. You're going to lose, dude. You're going to lose, and you're going to make yourself look bad. Matter of fact, you already did. So I would watch my video on the metaphysics of math. Think it through. You might not agree with it. Watch some of my videos on idealism. Think it through. There's perfectly sound, legitimate arguments for idealism. No, it's not theism per se. But if you're willing to believe in a unified field of consciousness, that's not that far away from God. So, But the long and the short of it is, listen to Joe. Joe is right. Answers from Reason crew. The only downside to those guys is they're all basically cult leaders. Joe will tweet something in the. All right, I'm going to. All right, so listen to Joe, and stop bothering everybody. Stop bothering everybody. You're wasting your time, dude. You haven't read any Plantinga, don't cite him. Don't quote him. You haven't read his books. You haven't read any of the Christian philosophers. You should start doing that. You really should. And you should listen to Thought Adventure podcasts. They're Muslims. They're freaking good at what they do, dude. You should listen to Theology Unleashed. You think Christianity and theism is so stupid, it just means you haven't really explored it in any way that's intellectually satisfying. If you're so smart, prove how smart you are by analyzing things correctly and thinking clearly. Because that's what those guys do, the Answers from Reason crew. That's what they do. That's not what you do. You assert that you're the smartest person around, and then you talk like Nimrod. If you're so smart, prove, demonstrate your intelligence by processing things correctly. Go watch my 2 videos and explain to me in cogent, plain English where the mistakes are. Like an intelligent human being, if you're the smartest person in the room. I sincerely doubt it. I sincerely doubt you'll tell me anything worth hearing. I don't even think you'll understand the idealism arguments all that well. So, there you go. There you have it, kids. You know, my analysis, Joe, Answers from Reason crew, 10, Relief Belief. You know, give it up. Give it up. Go hang with Godless Liz and the people who are, we're so much smarter than Christians crew. We're so much smarter than Christians. Christians are so dumb. I can't believe how dumb they are. It's not going to get you very far, dude. That style of atheism is going to disappear. Why? Because of what Joe is trying to tell you. There are starting to enter this space people who know what they're talking about. And that style of atheism where I can just assert that I'm the smartest person and Christians are just dumb without knowing anything about any of the arguments, it's not gonna work. So I would give it up now and listen to Joe. You know, go on his podcast, maybe he can teach you. So there you have it, kids. Against my better judgment, I got involved in Twitter back and forth that I didn't even really want to read. Never mind, go figure out why. I wasn't even really wanting to read your back and forth with Joe. It was long. Joe has 15 tweets in a row or 20 tweets in a row. It was too long. I don't got time to even read it. Never mind try to figure out why I said that to whoever I said it to, something I said 4 years ago. But the point is, and the point is well taken, so you should listen up because there's no arguing with this. If I were so irrational and my beliefs were so easy to dismiss, you could have found something in the video I put out last week, which I posted, and you didn't watch. You wouldn't have to dig up something I said 4 years ago. Because if I were truly irrational, there'd be evidence of it in everything I tweet, everything I write, everything I put on YouTube. It's all there. There's stuff from 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. You didn't go through any of that. Why? Because I'm not irrational. And you know it. Joe is correct. Joe doesn't agree with God. Joe doesn't believe all the things I believe. But what he was trying to tell you is basically the truth. And if you're so smart and intelligent, heed the truth. Humble yourself. Listen to your superiors. In this case, Joe and his crew are the superiors. And yeah, the abortion thing threw me off too, Joe. I guess she thinks I meant Joe Biden. I have no idea. Another person started trashing Joe and his crew because they're weak on abortion rights. Apparently they don't. I have no idea where that came from, why that woman said it. And apparently she was. Twitter is weird, man. Twitter it's weird. Throws you. So, anyways. That is all for now, kids. If you are an atheist who think you're the smartest person that ever walked the face of the earth by virtue of the fact that you don't believe in God, get a clue. It's time to grow up and stop thinking that way. Why? Because it ain't going to work that much longer, guys. You know, there's only one Stephanie to beat up. Stephanie's so dumb. Only one of her. And the other people in the space, I guarantee you, Dry Apologist is smarter than most of you who think that you're the smartest person around. I'll put you up against Dry Apologist or John Buck any day of the week. Any day of the week. Nathan, I guess he's a Christian now. If Nathan's a Christian, pound for pound, we're doing pretty well in terms of actual brain power. You got your Answers from Reason crew, your real atheology guys. Got a couple of winners in there, but the overall tone of the discourse of that Godless Liz and all the people who fawn over her tweets, bottom of the barrel, dude. Belief, you do actually have kind of a brain. I remember I had a conversation with you about, I guess, quantum mechanics or something, and you do seem to have something upstairs. So you should actually listen to the Answers from Reason crew. Those guys are doing it correctly, and the real atheology crew. You should stop thinking this is some sort of game where you just got to score points against Christians or you're not winning, because that's not what this is about. This is about you figuring out what's true. And if you can't see any truth in what the Christian believes, you aren't doing it correctly. You aren't, because I'm a perfectly reasonable human being. And half the stuff, if you strip away a few core things that I believe that Joe or, what's his face? Who's the real atheology guy? Ben Watkins believes. Is that his name? Yeah, I think that's his name. You strip away like a few core things, like I believe in God and they don't. Some of the rest of the stuff, almost identical. That's why I put the Roger Penrose. Sir Roger Penrose. If you believe in metaphysics and math, if you believe in the standard model of particle physics, then you believe in mathematical realism. You aren't that far away from theism yourself. That's the point I was trying to make in the last video. So if you watch that, you might actually learn something. So the big difference between me and them is that I learned how to cultivate a prayer life. That doesn't mean I'm actually contacting God when I do it, but it could easily just be my subconscious mind. The only thing I'm saying in my videos is that it literally feels like I'm contacting God. And I've cultivated that over the years. That's it. Other than that, Joe and I are identical. There's not that much difference between a lot of the things that some of the smart atheists believe and some of the things I believe. There's really not. Go look at Sir Roger Penrose. He calls himself an atheist. His view on the world is almost identical to mine, except I have a prayer life. That's it. That's almost the only difference. So your idea that Christians are this wildly irrational clan of freaks is really stupid. It's really just misplaced, really dumb. Christians are all crazy. See, Craig Reed once tweeted something 4 years ago that doesn't make sense. Ergo, he's crazy. Watch my videos now. Wrestle with what I'm saying now. See if you can understand what I'm talking about and follow along. You find that I'm eminently reasonable. It's the only thing Joe was trying to say. That's it. That's all I was trying to tell you. So I say 10 for Joe, 10 for Answers from Reason, and it's time for you to, either grow up or go home. Basically, those are your options, my friend. Grow up or go home. Doesn't matter to me what you do, but if you're going to tag me in tweets, you're going to show up in my videos. So if you want to stay kind of ornery, I got no problem with you being an ornery atheist. You normally keep out of my way. Just don't tag me in tweets. And don't tag me from things I said 4 years ago as if that's evidence of how I'm irrational. And then not watch videos that I posted last week. Why? Because that's dishonest. That's a ludicrous tactic. Don't do that. The Answers from Reason don't play games like that. That's the point. That's why other atheists don't like them, because they don't play games. They're honest actors. They have conversations.